Tomorrow at 5. Now let's go to CBS.
This is the CBS Evening News. Dan Rather reporting. Good evening. Secretary of State Schultz neared the end of another Middle East trip today, but the Israelis and the Arabs were further than ever from peace. On the Israeli-occupied West Bank, Palestinians fought Israeli civilian settlers, and this time it was a fight to the death for both sides. 2 Arabs were killed and 1 Israeli girl. Bob Simon is there.
First on the scene offering help was an Arab ambulance from Nablus. It took away the first Israeli civilian to be killed in the uprising, 15-year-old Tirza Porat. She'd been stoned and beaten to death.
The Arabs put on us, and we don't know what to do. They kill him.
The children from an ultra-nationalist Israeli settlement had been on a Passover outing in the countryside when they came under a hail of stones. The guards opened fire but couldn't protect them. They were forced into the village and mobbed. When it was all over, 2 of the Israeli kids and 1 of their guards were still wandering around the village, wounded and stunned. They tried to hail an army helicopter, but that didn't work. They tried to be brave, but after a while, that didn't work either. Eventually, they were escorted out by newsmen. Some of their friends had been saved by villagers.
Some of the locals tried to help and to rescue the children.
The army set up a roadblock a mile away and prevented enraged settlers from exacting immediate revenge. Soldiers went inside the village, declared a curfew, and began collecting evidence and suspects.
The village is closed now, and we are doing all the questioning, and of course no one will be able to enter the village.
But when night fell, settlers pitched tents and declared a new settlement on a hill overlooking the village. They called for deportations of Palestinians and the right to shoot anyone throwing a stone. Other demonstrators, some of them armed, marched on Defense Minister Rabin's house in Tel Aviv and demanded his resignation, claiming that he's too soft on the Arabs. Israeli soldiers are manning roadblocks all over the West Bank tonight to prevent Israeli settlers from going on the rampage. From the very start of the uprising, there have been dire predictions that eventually it had to come down to war between the people who live in the territories, the Arabs, and the Jews. Bob Simon, CBS News, Tel Aviv.
The U.S. State Department today praised the government of Kuwait for not yielding to demands of hijackers holding a Kuwaiti airliner in Iran. Half a dozen Arabs armed with pistols and grenades are still holding 87 hostages on board. From London, Tom Fenton reports on day 2 of the siege.
With negotiations at a stalemate, Kuwaiti Airways Flight 422 was allowed to move clear of the runway. After the hijackers threatened to blow up the plane, an Iranian official said he would permit it to be refueled. The hijackers are threatening to fly to another destination. Iranian television tonight said the hijackers' patience is running out.
They will not compromise their demands in spite of the pressures.
Earlier today, the hijackers released 24 women passengers, including a number of Europeans. They were told to cover their heads in public. The hijackers are threatening the lives of 3 relatives of the ruler of Kuwait who are among the hostages. The Kuwaiti royal family has refused the hijackers' demand for release of pro-Iranian terrorists held in Kuwaiti jails. Britain's Prime Minister Thatcher, as well as the U.S. State Department, endorsed Kuwait's refusal to yield.
We don't give in to blackmail because it only leads to further tragedy.
Since all information comes from the Iranians, it has to be taken with a grain of salt. There's suspicion here that there may be some collusion with the hijackers. The Iranian Deputy Prime Minister, who has been doing the negotiating, knows something about terrorism. British sources say he was trained by the PLO in Lebanon prior to the Iranian Revolution. Tom Fenton, CBS News, London.
The Democratic Party's version of the Big Apple Circus opened in New York today. Presidential contenders started their final drive to stay alive in the New York primary 2 weeks ahead. Michael Dukakis again claiming bragging rights to frontrunner. This follows Dukakis' solid, no smoke, no mirrors, no foolin', straight-out primary victory over Jesse Jackson yesterday in Wisconsin. Albert Gore ran third. Dukakis now has back-to-back wins in Wisconsin, Colorado, and Connecticut in his effort to blunt the Jackson surge. By CBS News count, Dukakis now leads the race for nominating delegates, but no one's even close to the magic number, 2,082, needed to nominate. Against that backdrop, the big one here in New York, April 19th, 255 delegates. This race could determine whether the Democrats come down to a brokered nomination. Another big unknown, what, if anything, will Governor Mario Cuomo do? Who, if anyone, will he endorse? Bruce Morton reports now on scrambling for delegates in the Empire State.
The day after one primary is when candidates and advisors start positioning themselves for the next.
We can use the word inevitability now.
That's Congressman Tom Manton, who was for Gephardt but is now talking it up for Michael Dukakis. Inevitable?
No inevitability. New York is an island unto itself. It's you have to do well here. He has to do well here. If he does well here, he's on his way.
I'm running as the underdog with an alternative approach, the best chance to win in November.
Gore is working hard for Jewish votes. Headed says Gore appeals to Ronald Reagan Democrats, tough on defense, liberal on social issues. Others see Gore as a candidate whose message shifts.
He's been shifting his strategy week to week and becoming a defense candidate one week, or running for the Jewish vote another week, or going on economic populism another week.
Sawyer thinks it's a two-man race, Jackson and Dukakis. Jackson got 26% of the vote last time. He'll do poorly with Jewish voters who remember Hymietown and the Reverend Farrakhan, whom aides say Jackson hasn't seen for at least 3 years. But Jackson could contend if he does well with other whites, as he did in Wisconsin. Dukakis will compete for Jewish votes and probably stress his economic message.
We're going to take that message of jobs and economic opportunity to every corner of the state of New York. Are you with me? Are we going to do it?
If either Jackson or Dukakis can begin to build a consistent momentum, it means trouble for the other campaign. So New York is clearly a very important race.
You're getting down to a race between two people who represent two different areas, the Democratic Party. Dukakis, much more a mainstream Democrat, and Jesse Jackson representing the liberal constituency of the Democratic Party. And I think that's where the race is going to be. And that's, by the way, a classic race in the Democratic Party, a classic race.
And whoever wins here, a lot of people think, will be on such a roll that he'll be the nominee, whether or not he gets an absolute majority of delegates by the time the primaries have ended. Dan?
Thanks, Bruce. And Bruce, as you know, amid all this new talk that Dukakis is frontrunner and even, in his phrase, the inevitable nominee, Dukakis is often described as coming across as competent but passionless. Critics and advisors alike have reportedly told him to Paul Simonize or Jacksonize his style. CBS News correspondent Bob Fall looks tonight at Mike Dukakis and the passion gap after Wisconsin.
The one thing we've learned over the course of these past few months is that you don't try to be somebody you're not.
Something finally worked for Michael Dukakis in Wisconsin, but political handicappers agree something is still missing. That on the stump, as one reporter put it, this candidate has all the excitement of a grilled cheese sandwich.
I am not incited or excited about Dukakis as a person. He doesn't have enough fire in his delivery.
Or charisma, whether trying to lighten up serving food to senior citizens,
Take the hat.
or not quite knowing what to do with a gift of cheese on a Wisconsin farm.
Well, all I can tell you is Greeks and cheese go together. I want you to know that.
The cerebral Dukakis can be so stiff, one observer concluded, he can whip any crowd into a stupor.
Look, Al Gore said that not too long ago. He said I didn't have enough passion. I said, Kitty thought I was passionate. Where is she? Vouch for me, will you? Vouch for me. Yeah, she says she thinks I'm passionate.
Dukakis is banking that the country wants a manager first, performer second, competence over charisma. But the failure to inspire can be costly.
The best policy created is all for naught unless you can get the people to believe in what you're doing and get them mobilized behind you.
The Dukakis camp complains the press is making too much of razzle-dazzle, too little of substance, that the bottom line should be what the candidate says, not how he says it. For supporters, the question is not, can the leopard change his spots, but why should he try?
Wouldn't be natural for him to change his style. Thank you. Hi, how are you doing? He's doing something right. Why should you change?
The argument is that Dukakis might not be a good buddy, but that he could be a good president, and that a good president is not necessarily someone who can wow crowds or slap backs.
Well, he doesn't put his arm around you and say, take you to the top of the mount and say, all of this can be yours. He doesn't play the games like that, no. That's to his credit.
But others say the absence of passion says a lot about Dukakis' character, that he doesn't set people on fire because he doesn't feel anything deeply himself. Beryl Cohen, a one-time friend, has known Dukakis for 40 years.
He's the kind of person who knows the price of everything and the value of nothing. Without emotion, without passion, without juice, I think if he cut his finger, I'm not sure he'd bleed.
Trying to warm up in Wisconsin, Dukakis quaffed a few beers, even cussed occasionally. But he cannot be what he isn't, and he has no wish to be.
Look, I am what I am.
In Wisconsin, that was apparently enough. The question in New York and elsewhere is whether Michael Dukakis will still have the luxury of being himself. Bob Fall, CBS News, Milwaukee.
Recently, President Reagan said the indicted Oliver North, John Poindexter and Company broke no laws in the Missiles for Iran criminal conspiracy and corruption case now pending against them, a case yet to be heard in a court of law. White House correspondent Terrence Smith reports it now turns out that Mr. Reagan also may have let on in private how he feels about pardons for them.
For more than a year, President Reagan has refused to say whether he intends to pardon former aides Oliver North and John Poindexter for their roles in the Iran-Contra affair.
There's no answer to that. I'm not answering that.
But in a closed-door session with congressional Republicans 2 weeks ago, he may have tipped his hand. When conservative Congressman Henry Hyde urged the president to pardon North and Poindexter, even suggesting he sign pardons for the two military men in a ceremony at the Vietnam Memorial, Mr. Reagan, according to one participant, repeated his usual disclaimer, but then added, "I like your scenario, Henry." Republicans who have been pushing for pardons for both men are encouraged.
Yes, there will be some crimes they'll be guilty of, and they probably will be convicted, obstructing justice, obstructing Congress, that sort of thing. And in that case, I personally would think a pardon would be in order.
But the chief counsel for the Iran-Contra committees feels that such talk by anyone is premature.
I think that all of us would say that it is not appropriate for the president or for the Congress or for public officials to express opinions on guilt or innocence.
Today, as the president vacationed in California, his spokesman dismissed his comment in the congressional meeting as a throwaway remark. Still, just 3 days after that session, Mr. Reagan made his sentiments clear to a White House audience.
I just have to believe that they're going to be found innocent because I don't think they were guilty of any law-breaking or any crime.
White House officials say the president believes that no decision should be made on pardons until the legal process has run its course. But until then, Ronald Reagan is keeping all his options open and making little secret about how he really feels. Terrence Smith, CBS News, with the president in Santa Barbara.
Still to come on the CBS Evening News, correspondent Richard Schlesinger on why people who would walk a mile for a camel may soon have to. And Bob McNamara on a market that's something to crow about.
When it's time to sell your home, you want action.
And that's what you get with the Century 21 Action Warranty.
My personal promise of service, in writing.
The Century 21 Action Warranty. One more reason to come with us.
For complete details, call a participating office.
Come with us. Put your trust in #1. Century 21.
Introducing the all-new Oldsmobile Cutlass Supreme. Four-wheel disc brakes, a multi-port fuel-injected V6 engine, four-wheel independent suspension, an aerodynamic styling even the wind can't resist. In short, the new Cutlass Supreme is not your father's Oldsmobile.
Scott Emerson once had a heart attack. Today, he had a son. Studies show Bayer aspirin helps reduce the risk of heart attacks. Ask your doctor about a regimen of exercise, the right foods, and Bayer, the wonder drug that works wonders.
Fixing this water damage will cost $1,200. Could I have prevented it?
You could. Thompson's Water Seal protects wood, brick, and concrete with its special waterproofing formula. Thompson's Water Seal, a great defense against repair expense.
A tough new ordinance went into effect today that sharply limits the places a smoker can light up in the nation's largest city. This regulation bans or restricts smoking in restaurants, taxis, indoor public places, theaters, department stores, and a lot of other places. That leaves some New Yorkers breathing more easily, others all fired up. Richard Schlesinger reports.
Never before has one law affected so many smokers. In 100,000 businesses and 15,000 restaurants, smokers will either have to do without or be segregated from non-smokers.
I can't smoke where I'm sitting at my desk, and I'm very mad about it. Smokers have a right too.
Before the law, the smoker got preferential treatment because he or she could light up wherever they wanted to. Whereas now, the non-smoker under the law is getting preferential treatment.
About 300 cities across the U.S. have already enacted some form of smoking ban because of evidence showing non-smokers can be harmed by breathing so-called second-hand smoke. The tobacco industry calls that evidence, quote, as wispy as cigarette smoke itself.
I don't think that the American public's ready to put up with any kind of neo-prohibition movement, whether it's for cigarettes or any other legal product.
Later this month, all airlines will have to prohibit smoking on flights lasting 2 hours or less. Some investors are talking about starting a new airline for smokers only, but that idea appears unlikely to get off the ground.
While many smokers fume about the new regulations, the fact is it's becoming less socially acceptable to smoke, and in New York, that could cost some people a lot of money. On Wall Street, a fat cigar is the sign of success, but under the new law, smokers may have to leave the trading floor to light up. Some traders have complained that with rapid market shifts, taking a cigarette break can be expensive. And in New York's posh restaurants, some customers who smoke might have to give up the most prestigious tables, a great blow to some important egos.
Certainly in a place like Sardi's, with our regular customers, some of which who sat in the same seats for 40 and 50 years, this creates a problem.
There are some signs that the new law is already having an effect. Stop smoking programs in New York are doing a land office business, up 100% in the last week, as people decide it's easier to just give up. Richard Schlesinger, CBS News, New York.
Mikhail Gorbachev left Moscow suddenly today and flew to the Soviet Central Asian city of Tashkent to meet with Afghan President Najib. This comes amid reports that the United States and the Soviets are close to agreeing on terms for a Soviet withdrawal from Afghanistan. Afghan rebels fear the terms amount to what they call a sellout.
Looking new and bright. It is. And you're gonna start it right. I am. Cause there's Folgers for you that's decaffeinated too. The best part of waking up is Folgers in your cup.
Decaffeinated? And I'm waking up?
Nothing brightens your morning like mountain-grown Folgers decaffeinated. Mountain-grown coffee beans have more enticing aroma and richer flavor than any other kind.
Folgers so rich and good, the day starts like it should.
And one, and two, and one, and two.
The best part of waking up is Folgers in your cup.
The day's really shaping up.
Presenting the winning performance, the winning look, the winning ways of Buick's great American coupe, the new Buick Regal. Introducing the totally new Regal Grand Sport with a powerful fuel-injected V6 engine. World-class aerodynamics, each wheel independently suspended to grip the curves, and the stopping power of a disc brake at each wheel. The Regal Grand Sport, the newest member of a very Regal family.
The great American love belongs to Buick.
Hemorrhoids. They hurt, burn, and swell. And more doctors recommend Anusol to relieve the hurting than all other hemorrhoid medicines combined. Anusol is the word to remember for relief.
A Wall Street analyst today said he's convinced Texas Air soon will sell its troubled subsidiary Eastern Airlines to union workers for Eastern. That news comes as Eastern faces an unprecedented drain of its experienced pilot corps. Documents show that 500 pilots left Eastern last year, and the rate is increasing. Correspondent Peter Van Sant reports what that means to you, the flying public, and to the airline.
Thousands of Eastern Airline passengers each month are learning the hard way that the airline has a pilot shortage.
And I walked up to check my bag at the SkyCap, and he said, your flight to Atlanta has been canceled.
Eastern Airlines has been forced to cancel hundreds of flights and reduce its overall flight schedule because pilots are leaving the airline in numbers never before seen in the history of the airline industry.
Pilot attrition this year has been
it's been phenomenal. It's been unprecedented in the airline industry. We've been losing pilots at the average of 3.5 pilots per day.
In just over a year and a half, more than 830 pilots have left Eastern Airlines, either quitting or taking early retirement. Most major airlines average just 3 to 5 resignations a year. The shortage of cockpit crews in February forced Eastern to cancel 135 flights in just 3 days. Another 99 flights were canceled between March 1st and the 30th because there was no one to fly the plane.
They're taking supervisory pilots out of the offices and throwing them into gaps on the line. They are just calling people in the halls. Here, go out and fly this trip. I mean, it's ridiculous.
Eastern pilots say the airline's uncertain future, safety concerns, and a harsh management style are driving pilots away. Eastern used to be able to count on a steady flow of military pilots, but sources say most are avoiding the troubled carrier.
By changing the throttle position, you're increasing what?
So with the help of Dade Community College in Miami, Eastern is training a new generation of young pilots to fly its crew-starved jets.
I originally started out, thinking about becoming a stewardess, but then I realized that I can fly.
Eastern's pilot shortage is expected to worsen this year. Sources say at least 800 Eastern pilots have applied for jobs at United Parcel Service, which is starting its own cargo airline. Should the pilot exodus continue, many more passengers may be stuck at the gate with no place to go. Peter Van Sant, CBS News, Atlanta.
A judge in Newark, New Jersey today granted surrogate mother Mary Beth Whitehead Gould gradually expanded visitation rights starting at 6 hours a week with baby M, the child she agreed to bear for $10,000. The move was bitterly opposed by William and Elizabeth Stern, who wanted to delay unsupervised contact between Mrs. Whitehead Gould and 2-year-old Melissa Stern for several years. Mrs. Whitehead Gould, you may recall, agreed to bear the baby for the childless couple, but later changed her mind, sparking an unprecedented court case which upheld the surrogacy contract. A rally in the dollar sparked a surge in program trading today, forcing the New York Stock Exchange to close computerized stock transactions for the first time as the Dow Jones Industrial Average soared.
Sarah, keep an eye on your brother.
Face it, you never really know how demanding business is going to be.
Go ahead.
So more and more companies are choosing Konica, the copiers they know they can rely on.
Let's go, kids.
No matter what size your company, no matter what size the job, Konica copiers are ready. Konica, capturing the imagination.
Captain, this itchy rash is driving me crazy.
Why didn't you use the Cord-Aid?
Cord-Aid goes beneath the skin to actually heal itches and rashes.
You know, itches and rashes won't last if you use Cord-Aid first.
It's not unusual that Subaru has sold a lot of cars. What is unusual is how many of them are still running. An astonishing 92% of all Subarus registered since 1978 are still on the road. And now, if you buy a Subaru, you'll get back as much as $2,000. Of course, that $2,000 may not be built to last, but at least you know your Subaru is.
Now for indigestion, gas, introducing new Extra Strength Malox Plus. It neutralizes more than any leading antacid and dissolves gas. Nobody does as much as new Extra Strength Malox Plus.
We're going to end tonight with a trip for you to a place you probably never heard of, but if you believe you were born to shop, or if you just like to browse, or if you are simply in search of superlatives, you'll be glad you came along. Bob McNamara is our friendly tour guide.
Just when it starts looking like a quiet, out-of-the-way East Texas campground, they're back. The motorhomes and pickup trucks, the vans pulling horse trailers stuffed with stuff. There must be hundreds.
We got a line plumb back to the highway, a mile and a half long, so no telling. Bunch of them.
In from Louisiana, Arkansas, and all across Texas, they're even down from up north.
I come all the way from Illinois. It's 800 miles. I just like to do it. This is
This is my living.
But it's not another bluegrass festival they've come for.
They think that the Smithsonian thinks that it's sycamore.
Petrified wood, wooden bird carvings, Spider-Man comic books, and old school zone signs. Anything you've ever wanted is probably here in a pile of rusty junk.
You put a QE on the end, see?
For 115 years, once a month, Canton, Texas has been home to what's become the world's biggest flea market. But even over 100 acres and with as many as 5,000 sellers, it doesn't take long to find there's one economic principle at work here.
All right.
What nobody else don't want, somebody else does. So that's what I sell, is junk.
Guns, there must be enough to arm a revolution, and tools enough to dismantle a semi-truck. But the bargains come hard.
Try it out. Boy, you got out 6? No. He don't own nothing but 20. That's all he knows is 20. 10.
Roosters and baby rabbits, and dogs by the dozens. The old-timers say this is the market that started it all.
The circuit judge years ago, when he'd come to town, have court once a month. That's how, and then the farmers come to town to see who was in trouble and who wasn't in trouble. And they started trading horses and dogs and chickens and what have you.
Got a twin turbo combustion.
Vacuum cleaners.
One day at a time.
Gizmos they say you can learn to play in 5 minutes. Like the man said, what nobody else don't want, somebody else does. And it's probably here. Bob McNamara, CBS News, Canton, Texas.
And that's the CBS Evening News. Dan Rather. See you tomorrow. Good night.
When it comes to medicine for my family, I don't take chances. I go with the experts. When I was in the hospital with a sprained back, I was given Tylenol for the pain. It did the job without irritating my stomach like aspirin or even ibuprofen can. In our house, when we need a pain reliever, the one we trust is the one the experts use, Tylenol.
Trust Tylenol, the pain reliever hospitals use most.
In the look-alike world of financial services, one stands out. It's one of America's strongest diversified financial experts, a fortress of insurance protection with Group Universal Life and other employee benefits, an innovative leader in comprehensive, affordable health services, and a master architect of financial growth in pensions and mutual funds. It's the Travelers. You're better off under the umbrella.
Color Tile's store-wide spring sale is on. Get incredible savings on the latest styles for all your home improvements. Versatile outdoor-indoor paver tile, 27.5 cents each. Gorgeous black or white vinyl tile, 59 cents each. Rich wood parquet, $1.40 to $1.56 a square foot. And a special offer on all in-stock wall covering. Buy one, get one free. Come to Color Tile's store-wide spring sale now.
Bring the beauty home. Color Tile.
Hurry, sale ends Sunday.
I'm Harry Smith.
And I'm Kathleen Sullivan. Tomorrow, Yankee slugger Dave Winfield on the book that may get him traded.
Also, pianist Van Cliburn on CBS This Morning.
This is CBS.